Beneath the veneer of a perfect life, a woman wrestled with a dark secret. She lived a double life, a wife by day, a con artist by night. Our tale begins with a woman who was the epitome of perfection. To the world, she was a loving wife, a pillar of the community, a woman whose life seemed to be painted with the hues of a blissful existence. Yet, behind this flawless facade, there was another side to her, a side she kept carefully hidden from the world. In the quiet hours of the night, she would shed her skin of normalcy and step into a world of shadow and deceit. She was no longer just a wife, but a con artist, weaving intricate webs of lies and deception that would leave even the most discerning minds bewildered. She was confident, oh so confident, in her ability to keep these two lives separate, like oil and water refusing to mix. She believed she was the master puppeteer, controlling the strings of her dual existence with an expert hand. Her daytime persona, the loving wife, knew nothing of the nighttime thief, the one who danced in the shadows, who lived for the thrill of the con. She reveled in her secret life, the adrenaline, the exhilaration, the danger. It was a high that she couldn't get enough of, a drug that kept her coming back for more. She was intoxicated by the power, the control, the freedom that came with leading a double life. Yet as she walked this tightrope of deception, she carried a heavy burden. The constant fear of discovery, the guilt of betraying the man she loved, the dread of the day her two worlds would inevitably collide. But she was convinced she could keep her secret life under wraps, confident that she would never get caught. She was certain she could continue to play this dangerous game without losing. She believed her secret life was under control, until fate decided to play its part. Her life as a con artist was not a choice, but rather a desperate attempt at survival. She navigated through life with cunning and guile, her every interaction laced with manipulation. She was a master of deception, an artist in the craft of lies. Her canvas was the world around her, and her brush, an intricate web of falsehoods that she spun with effortless grace. Her tactics were diverse and well-planned. She had a knack for understanding people, for seeing what they desired, what they feared. She used this knowledge to her advantage, promising dreams, exploiting vulnerabilities. From forging documents to impersonating identities, she did it all. Each con was a carefully orchestrated performance, a dance of deceit that she led with precision. But why did she do it? It was a question that often haunted her. The answer was survival. She was a woman caught in the clutches of a harsh world, a world that had given her little but taken much. To her, conning was not an act of greed but a means to endure. It was her way of fighting back, of claiming a life that she believed was denied to her. Yet, as she delved deeper into this life of deception, she began to lose herself. Each scam, each lie brought her further from the woman she once was. She began to live a double life, one that was as thrilling as it was terrifying. It was a dangerous game, a high-stakes gamble where she was both the player and the pawn. Her actions were not without their consequences. The lies began to weigh on her, each one a heavy stone tied around her soul. She could feel the strain of her double life pulling her down, dragging her into a dark abyss from which there seemed to be no escape. Every con was a step further into the abyss, every lie, a chain shackling her to her double life. With each passing day, the chains grew heavier, the abyss deeper. But little did she know her life was about to take a turn, one that would change her forever. Amidst the deceit and manipulation, there was one true thing, her love for her high school sweetheart. This was the one relationship that was untouched by her con artist lifestyle, or so she thought. They fell in love during those innocent high school years, their bond as strong as the oak trees that lined their schoolyard. They were the quintessential high school sweethearts, their love story seeming like it was ripped straight out of a romantic novel. After high school, they tied the knot in a small, intimate ceremony, promising to stand by each other through thick and thin, unaware of the storm that lay ahead. But, as they say, you can't escape the consequences of your actions. As their marriage progressed, her double life started seeping into their relationship. The late-night calls, the sudden trips, the inexplicable income, all started raising questions in her husband's mind. He loved her, but the seeds of doubt had been sown. It was not just the lies, it was the constant deceit that began to erode their relationship. The woman he loved was not just leading a double life, but was also a con artist, The realization was like a punch to the gut. He felt betrayed, and rightly so. He had been living a lie that was carefully crafted and maintained by the woman he loved. The downfall of their relationship was as heartbreaking as it was inevitable. The trust, once broken, proved impossible to rebuild. The woman he loved was a stranger, her true self masked by a web of lies and deceit. Their love story turned into a tragic tale of love and lies. Her double life cost her the only genuine thing she had, her love. The man who stood by her, believed in her, was lost to her because of her own actions. It was a heavy price to pay, a price that reminded her every day of the life she chose and the love she lost. The truth, like the sun, cannot hide forever, and when it came out, it scorched everything in its path. The revelation of her double life was like a thunderclap on a clear day. The light of truth pierced through her carefully constructed web of lies, leaving her exposed and vulnerable. The consequences were swift and severe. The woman who had once been a master of deception was now a pariah. Friends and family recoiled in shock and betrayal, unable to reconcile the person they thought they knew with the con artist standing before them. Her husband, her high school sweetheart, the love of her life, was left shattered. The trust they had shared, the bond they had built, was irrevocably damaged. He had loved a ghost, a mirage, a woman who did not exist. The pain was too much to bear, and he walked away, leaving her alone with the wreckage of her life. Regret became her constant companion, gnawing at her conscience like a relentless predator. She looked back at her life and saw a trail of hurt and deception. She had been so consumed with her own desires and ambitions that she had not considered the cost of her actions. The despair was overwhelming, a vast abyss that threatened to consume her. She had thought that she could play the game without ever having to pay the price. But the price was high, higher than she could have ever imagined. She had lost everything she held dear, and all she was left with were the bitter ashes of her deceit. In the silence of her solitude, she was forced to confront the person she had become. She had to face the monster in the mirror, the woman who had thought she was invincible, who had believed that she could manipulate the world to her liking without ever facing the consequences. She was left alone, with the ruins of her life and the bitter taste of her own deceit. At her lowest point, she found something she never expected: faith. There, in the darkest corners of her life, where lies had woven a tangled web, she stumbled upon a beacon of hope, a lifeline. It was faith. She discovered faith not in the grand cathedrals or the eloquent sermons, but in the quiet moments of self-reflection. It was during those lonely nights, when the weight of her deceit would press upon her, that she would find solace in prayer. And in those prayers, she began to hear a voice that wasn't her own, a voice that offered love instead of judgment, mercy instead of punishment. She found Christ. Giving her life to Christ wasn't a decision she took lightly. It wasn't a leap into the unknown, it was instead a conscious choice. A choice to embrace truth over lies, love over deceit, and hope over despair. She decided to face the music, to face the consequences of her past actions. But she wasn't alone this time. She had Christ by her side. With this newfound faith, she began to untangle the web of lies she had spun. She confessed her sins, sought forgiveness, and started on a path of redemption. It was a difficult journey, filled with remorse and regret, but it was also a journey of healing and transformation. She was not the same woman anymore. The con artist had given way to a woman of faith. The woman who had lived a life of deception was now a woman living a life of truth. She had traded her old life for a new one, a life that was not built on lies but on the firm foundation of Christ. She chose faith over deceit, and in doing so, she chose life over a mere existence. She paid the price for her past, but in return, she gained something far more valuable: a future filled with hope, love, and the promise of better things to come. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, she began to rebuild her life. This wasn't a simple task, mind you. It was like trying to piece together a shattered mirror, each fragment reflecting a past she could no longer recognize. But with an unyielding spirit and a newfound belief, she set about to mend what was broken. She chose honesty over deceit, humility over pride. She traded the allure of easy money for the satisfaction of earned wages, She replaced her designer clothes and luxury cars with simple attire and public transport. It was a humbling experience, but each step she took, each sacrifice she made, she felt a little lighter, a little freer. She also began to make amends. She reached out to those she had wronged, offering apologies, paying back debts, and doing whatever she could to right her wrongs. Some accepted her apologies, some did not. Yet she never let the rejection deter her. Instead, it steeled her resolve to continue on this path of redemption. Her transformation wasn't just about making amends, though. It was also about finding a new purpose, a new direction. She began volunteering at a local church, sharing her story to help others avoid the same pitfalls. She started mentoring young women, teaching them the value of honesty and self-respect. She discovered a passion for helping others that she never knew she had. Her journey wasn't without its challenges. There were days when she questioned if it was worth it, if she could truly escape her past. But on those days, she would remember the love she had lost, the trust she had broken, and the pain she had caused. That reminder fueled her determination to keep going, to keep changing. She traded her life of lies for a life of truth, and in doing so, she found her true self. This wasn't the end of her story, but the beginning of a new chapter. A new beginning, marked not by deception, but by honesty, integrity, and faith. She was no longer a woman of two faces, but a woman of purpose, of strength, and of unwavering belief in the power of redemption. The road to redemption is long and arduous, but she walks it with newfound strength and faith. Our tale takes an unexpected turn as our protagonist, once a con artist, now walks a path of righteousness. She's hung up her old ways, her deceptive games, and her double life. All that lies in the past, a stark contrast to the woman of faith she has become. Each day she wakes to the knowledge of her past sins, the echoes of her deception still ringing in her ears. But she doesn't let them define her. Instead, she uses them as stepping stones, reminders of the person she once was, and the person she never wants to be again. She's paid a hefty price for her past. She lost the love of her life, her high school sweetheart, her husband. His heart, once full of love for her, had been broken by her countless lies. It was a loss that cut deep, a wound that still aches. But it was a necessary pain, a wake-up call. She's faced consequences, yes, but she's also found redemption. She's discovered a faith that grounds her, that guides her. She's given her life to Christ, and in Him, she's found a refuge, a beacon of hope in the stormy seas of her past. She's no longer the woman of two faces. She's no longer living a lie. She's a woman changed, transformed by faith and by the harsh lessons of her past. And what lies ahead? Well, the journey is far from over. There are still challenges to face, hurdles to overcome, but she walks forward with an unwavering belief in a better future. She is no longer chained by her past deceptions, but freed by her present truth. She knows there will be better things. She's seen the darkness, and now she's ready to step into the light. She's ready to live a life of honesty, of faith, of hope. Her past may be marred with deception, but her future is bright with truth and hope.